this is Lynn Modishon coming from Modishon's Herbals, and tonight we are not doing a meatless Monday. We are instead going to do a meaty Monday. Now, when I started these meatless Mondays, the whole idea was to help stretch the kitchen grocery budget, because the price of meat had skyrocketed quite a bit. There are a lot of dinners that you can have that have no meat and that are really wonderful. But there are also some inexpensive dinners that you can have with some meat in it. And so that's what we're doing tonight. Tonight we are going to make zucchini boats. So, and I have already made half of one of my zucchini boats, and it is in the oven right now cooking, so that you can see the completed project as well as how I'm making it. I will again, tomorrow morning I'll put the recipe on this page so that you'll know exactly what I put in here. And so what I decided to do was take 2 pounds of sausage. So I got 1 pound of sweet Italian sausage and 1 pound of hot Italian spices, Italian sausage. And I am putting half and half in each one. Now let me show you. After making the first half of the zucchini boat, I actually had this much left over. So I will have the same amount left over with the second one, and this is going to go into a spaghetti sauce so that tomorrow night we can have spaghetti. I think that, I think it's going to taste really good. So you could also put tortellini in it instead of spaghetti noodles, which would make it almost more of like a puttanesca, although there's no artichoke hearts in here, but there is zucchini instead. So there's a lot of things that you can do. I mean, this is going to make at least 2 dinners for you. Now for me, because I live by myself, this would make a whole lot of dinners. But Kara and Evelyn are coming over for dinner tonight, and Zachary will be here. So I'm thinking that we'll probably finish the zucchini boats tonight, and then have the other pasta tomorrow night. So I've got my cast iron skillet, and I am going to put a little bit of olive oil in the bottom. And as soon as it heats up, we're going to go ahead and put the 2 1/2 pounds of sausage in there. I've been cooking for a long time. My children are between 38 and 44, and I'm 65 years old, and I moved out of the house when I was 19. So I've been cooking for a long time, but I'm a self-taught cook. So sometimes it is more than likely, and I was thinking about this today when I was scooping out the insides of the zucchini, there's probably an easier way to do some of this stuff. And if you know of an easier way, feel free to let me know by sending a note there. Because even just scooping the insides of the zucchini out, it was not easy. So I'm going to put, this is the sweet sausage, and this is the spicy. Now I'll tell you, I had spicy sausage on a homemade pizza last week. Thank you, Marie. And it was not hot. So that kind of surprised me a little bit, and so it made me a little bit more adventurous in with this today. So I am going to go ahead and start breaking this up a little bit. There you go. Now, you're going to want to make sure you pay attention to it You're also going to want to make sure that you don't cook it on too high of a heat, otherwise it will burn, and you don't want that to happen. Now the most difficult part of this dinner is making the zucchini boat. So, you take your zucchini and you cut it in half. And I want to say thank you to Linda Painter, because she and Isaac brought me this zucchini, and I'm going to enjoy it, as will some of my kids. Now the way that what you need to do is you need to carve out the center of this zucchini so that you make a boat. Now when the trick to this is too, you can't cut too close to the edge, because then it won't be sturdy. So you have to cut a little bit in, so like a ½ inch or so in. Now the way I do it is I cut around, and then once I get it cut all the way around, because it's not cut on the bottom, I then use a spoon and spoon it out. Now like I said, there's got to be an easier way. I just don't know what it is. So I take a spoon and just go inside the cuts. I go ahead and take out spoonfuls at a time. Now you're going to want it smaller than a spoonful, so you're going to cut it up a little bit. And we're ultimately going to put this in with the sausage. Okay, now I am going to take 1 second, so give me just a minute, because I'm going to go downstairs and get the zucchini boat out of the basement oven. I'll be right back. So, shall we do a spoiler alert and tell you this is what we're making. It smells amazing. This is something my kids have had throughout their life. And so this is not one of the dishes that I'm making for the first time. So I know exactly what it looks like. So my old oven here in the kitchen is the oven element burnt out. So I am on the hunt for a new element so that I can bake up here instead of always having to take it down into the basement. But that being said, with it being warm as it has been, it is not a problem at all for me to bake down in the basement where it's much, much cooler. Now this particular zucchini boat is made with an Italian kind of a bent to it. You can put anything in these zucchini boats. You can put hamburger and rice. You can put just vegetables. There's cheese in here as well, or there will be a cheese topping. It is, you are only limited by your imagination. Okay, I'll take just a little bit more out. And this is what you've got. It's a hollowed out zucchini. Now, I am a big fan of garlic, so I'm going to put some additional garlic in here. And then other than that, I'm letting the spices in the sausage be the only spices that are in there. So this is, like I said, it's very easy. Now, here I've got the zucchini hollows, and here is one tomato. Now, when I'm cutting up tomatoes to dice them to put into a dinner, I generally will use Roma tomatoes. The reason for that is because it has fewer guts. I mean, fewer liquid and seeds and stuff like that. So it makes a much less mess. And I'm putting olives in. And again, I buy the whole olives and I cut them up myself. That way they're in a little bit bigger pieces and they aren't anywhere near as expensive. I'm also going to put a half an onion. Now it would be a whole onion if I had made this all at the same time. But because I made it in two different increments, it's a half for each zucchini half. Okay, so this is going to go in. And this is going to go in. And I'm going to put some mushrooms in. Now these are really giant mushrooms. If they were small mushrooms, I probably wouldn't cut them up. But because these are so big, I am going to chop them up a little bit. Okay. Now to me, this looks a little dry. This has all got to cook a little bit, but it looks a little bit dry to me, so what I'm going to do is I had in my basement some ragu spaghetti sauce, so I'm putting just a little bit in there. You don't want it too runny because you don't want it to be soupy inside the zucchini boat. Although that being said, between the two pans, I probably used almost this whole jar. So now, while this, depending upon your garden, the onion, the zucchini, and the tomato could easily have come out of your garden. And we're going to make a topping right now, and the topping will be 2 kinds of cheese and some parsley. Oops. And some parsley. So we're using about a third of a cup of mozzarella, and then a third of a cup of Parmesan and Romano. And then we are going to put some fresh parsley in there. Which you could also cut out of your garden if you plant herbs. And we're going to put some breadcrumbs. So I'm using panko breadcrumbs. And this is a brand new bag. And it's a resealable bag. So we're going to do the same. We're going to put about a third of a cup. Now, when you're baking, you have to be pretty precise in your measurements. When you're cooking, I'm not quite so precise. Put in as much as looks good to me. So can you see this? That's what it looks like. It looks really good. And I think I'm going to enjoy dinner tomorrow night as well. So now we're going to go ahead and fill up the zucchini boat. Now I put olive oil on the bottom of my baking pan here because I didn't want it to stick. So we're just going to fill this up. Well, we are going to have a lot of this left over. So, if you don't want a lot left over, only put in 1 pound of meat, unlike what the recipe called for. But I'm going to have enough to either freeze for another couple of dinners, or to put in the fridge and make dinner tomorrow night. And then still have some leftovers. So, now I'm going to take my other little spoon here and mix up the cheese and the breadcrumbs. And we'll have a little bit of this left over for when people serve themselves. They can put some fresh cheese on the plate. This is what it looks like before it has been baked. And again, there it is, all baked. So I don't know how much time this took, but I'm thinking it didn't take much more than 20 minutes to prepare it, and then 20 minutes to bake it at 400. And we're going to have a really good dinner. So thank you for joining me. And I have to tell you, I had the spaghetti with green sauce for dinner again last night, and boy, it tasted good. And now, if you remember making the tomato soup and the grilled cheese sandwiches, we're going to do that this week too, just because it really sounds good to me. So, take care. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you on Wednesday from Lessons from Wisdom from Gran. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about the zombie apocalypse and what we need to do to be prepared for it. So, you take care, and thanks so much for joining me. Bye-bye.